I'd like to give a big shout out to the HOODOO Gurus, who have given us permission to use part of their song, That's My Team, as our new podcast episode intro for all of their music. And whenever they are going live or performing live, head to their Facebook and their Instagram. The links will be in the description below. Be sure to give them a like and a follow as well on Facebook and Instagram. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Final Tackle podcast, and we've got a very special guest. He actually is one of the co-hosts of Rabbitohs Radio podcast. Be sure to go and check that out on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Google Podcasts, anywhere you can find a podcast, it's on there. He's actually, in my opinion, a Rabbitohs legend. His name is Steve. I'm probably going to butcher it. Mavin, it's probably Mavin. How's it going, mate? Thank you for joining us here.
G'day, buddy. Yeah, it is Mavin. But
Mavin?
that's all right.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's good stuff. So, let's get stuck into it, really. You made your debut for the Rabbitohs in 1987. Being a bloke from the Botany Bay area, what was it like growing up, and what team did you follow, and what was it like pulling on the, for lack of a better term, the Bunnies colours for the first time?
That was a dream come true to play for the Bunnies. I grew up in Botany, as you said, played for the Botany Rams, and always followed the Rabbits.
Mm-hmm.
And so to finally get a start, I realised the dream, just coming through in the junior rep teams and watching the Bunnies at Redfern Oval as a kid. Used to go there with my dad and my mum and dad and my brother, and we had some lean years growing up, but to finally get there, and then we started winning a few games, made the semis a few times. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, nice. And obviously you said you're from, like we've mentioned, you're a Botany Rams kid sort of thing. Do you think the coaches when you were a kid had an impact on the player that you became in first grade?
Yes, I think they did. I was just lucky to come into a pretty good South Sydney side.
Okay, yeah.
Phil Blake. Yep. Yeah, Phil Blake made his debut the year I came in, and we had a great forward pack, the likes of Ian Roberts, Les Davidson, Mario Fennick, David Boyle.
Mate,
so we had an awesome pack. Yeah.
Goosebumps right there. Goosebumps.
yeah. And, we had Tucker Coleman, and we had some good backs as well. So the Graham Lyons come in a bit later. So it was just awesome to come into this team. I was a 19-year-old kid.
Mm-hmm. And a speedster, honestly, is what you were. You were so fast. Sorry, continue.
That's all right. Oh, well, yeah, I was always quick. I used to love the sprinting races at school and go to the state carnival and all that.
Oh, yep.
So, yeah, used to love sprinting and running. But I was a forward when I was young. I played in the front row, and I was always a big kid, so they were never going to put me out in the backs. But I was always sort of a fast forward and used to love running the ball and tuck it under the arm and run, and not very often pass it.
Just run it and hit people.
Yeah, run either around them or over the top, whatever was appropriate at the time.
Yeah, no, that's honestly so awesome. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, no, that's it. And George Piggins was the coach when I was there, and he had a simple philosophy of just hold the ball, kick to the corners, and chase and tackle, and it worked for us. My debut, we played in 87. We played the Steelers and we got hammered by them. It was a bit unfortunate, really, but luckily we ended up making the semi-finals that year, and unfortunately it didn't end well for me or the team. But yeah, we didn't start well, but we made a playoff for fifth and ended up beating Canberra in that sudden death final.
Yes, and obviously speaking of that final, that kind of perfectly tangents into the next topic. I personally, and I know quite a few friends who are fans of the Rabbitohs, believe that you personally were not necessarily ostracised, but victimized as the reason the Rabbitohs lost that final. I personally don't see it. I don't get me wrong, I wasn't alive when the game happened. I have watched the game as a kid and as an adult, and I personally don't believe it was just you and you're doing. I believe it was, unfortunately, obviously, a team has to lose. And unfortunately, I just think it was the team's effort, for lack of a better term, not one individual. But the media sort of made it out around the time, from what I'm led to believe, that it was you and maybe one or two other players' faults or whatever. Could you talk to us about what that was like? Because I can imagine it was very demoralizing for you, if possible.
Yeah, it wasn't good. I didn't play well, obviously. It was a terrible start. I dropped a few footies, and the Raiders piled the points on early, so I didn't help. So I do sit. A lot of the blame does sit with me, but the story I tell is that I scored a few tries. The leading try scorer for South that year in '87, and so I helped us get there. I helped us get to the finals at one point, and I played every game in the centres. So what happened was Ross Harrington, our winger, got injured, and we needed someone to go onto the wing. And
so you were playing out of position as well.
Yeah, well, I'd never played wing before then, and it was just unfortunate the way it happened. But I should have played better, and I didn't. And that's just the way it went down.
That's fair enough.
Unfortunately, yeah.
So sorry to make you, for lack of a better term, relive that. I was just wondering about the man behind the moment sort of thing.
Yeah, well, it wasn't good for me, but I still played another 6 seasons of first grade after that. In '89, we bounced back, and I played a lot of centre again that year, and we were minor premiers by 5 points, and that's another heartbreaking. There's another heartbreaking way to go out. We had 2 chances to make the grand final, but we were beaten by the Tigers and then the Raiders again. And I suppose in '87, that Raiders team was on the verge of becoming a great side.
Oh, for sure.
They were just beaten by Manly in the grand final, and then they went on to obviously be the green machine that we all know.
Oh, for sure.
They had some great players, and they had the great Peter Jackson in that side. And
they sure did.
I like to tell the story that after that game when he kicked me those footballs and I dropped them and I got replaced, that I used to hate Peter Jackson. I used to think he was, I was off him, but then I finally met him years later, and it turns out he's a nice bloke. He was a terrific bloke.
Oh wow!
And we just sat down at the Maroubra Bay pub and had a beer and had a chat. And I completely had him wrong. He's a great bloke, and I'm glad I met him and found that out before he passed away, because it was devastating when we lost him. And he was one of the greats of the game and a real gentleman.
100%. Honestly, I've heard nothing but good things about Peter Jackson as well. I unfortunately didn't get a chance to meet him, but definitely one of the nicest blokes that I've been told. He was one of the nicest blokes in the NRL and in general.
He was, and he played in that Canberra team, played State of Origin, played it for Australia, so an absolute champion footballer as well.
For sure. For sure. I was just having a sip of my drink.
That's all right.
Now, obviously, current players don't really have, a day job, because their day job now is rugby league, and so I like to ask them, what job would they have done if they weren't in the NRL? But back in the 80s and the 90s, you guys did have, a day job and whatnot. What was your day job when you were playing for the Rabbitohs and in first grade?
Well, my first job when I left school was at the Commonwealth Bank as a teller.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then when I made the squad for South, a 9-to-5 job didn't really suit, so I had to chuck that in, and I ended up working at Flemington Markets for a while, driving a forklift, loading the fruit pallets on the trucks, and I just went through a series of different jobs, and truck driver, and just made it sort of fit in with the footy.
So pretty much you worked your outside life around, you worked everything around football sort of thing.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. And then when I went to the Bulldogs in '91, it started to become more professional, so there was two sessions a day. We were training in the mornings, doing weights, and then coming back and doing ball work in the afternoon. So it was really hard to sort of find any employment that would work around that. So I was just on the era of when it became professional like it is today.
Okay. I get what you mean.
And then when I finished playing footy, I started a small business with my missus, and I became an arborist, a tree surgeon. I was a tree lopper, and then had a truck, so I was doing a bit of rubbish removal. And then in 2006, I applied for a job at Port Botany at the Wharves, and I've been doing that ever since.
Oh, wow. And also, let's not mention your side hustle as of 2019, the Rabbitohs radio podcast. How's that going for you and your co-host, Darren Brown? And if you don't mind me asking, could you let everyone know about it all and what you guys are about at Rabbitohs Radio?
Oh, with pleasure. I'd like to tell you about that. And, well, starting as back at the Wharves, I've got a whole lot of good mates there. There's a lot of footy players there too, like Les Davidson, David Gillespie, Corey Hughes. We've got Keith Galloway.
Oh, wow.
A lot of old South players like Darryl Neville, some from my old team. And so anyway, we talk a lot of footy there. And one of the guys there, his name is Grant Chappell. He's a Maroubra guy, and he's got a bit to do with North Maroubra surf riders. He does a bit of announcing there.
Yep.
So he said to me that we should start a podcast because South didn't have one.
Yeah, no, they they didn't, but they do now, so continue.
They do. They have. It's called Rabbitohs Radio Podcast. That's us. So, and we just thought in the future, most teams will have one. And obviously you've got the podcast now, and it's becoming more popular, podcasting. So we started it off, and obviously I work with Darren Brown at the Wharves as well. And so the three of us we're all mates already. And yeah, we just started off. Our first podcast was done on my mobile phone in Brownie's dining room, just talking into the mobile phone.
Yep.
So we had no idea, and it's been pretty enjoyable, actually, just our progress to learning how to produce sound and how to edit it. And, we got some sponsors, and we started talking to guests. We started interviewing people, which is one of the things I love about our show, is talking to people like we're doing now and finding out their story.
That's what I love doing for the podcast, honestly. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, that's all right. And, yeah, like... we've learned some lessons along the way, some big lessons. Of, when we talk to people, it's hard to do that sometimes. You think it'd be easy, but it's quite often not. And
it really is. It really is hard to because I'm not going to get into it, but I can 100% relate to that.
You can relate to it, and we learnt along the way that just listen to what people say, and then if they go off on a tangent, then just go off and talk to them about that. So it's really good, and just some of we've spoken to like Bob McCarthy, Ron Coote, Terry Fay. We've had Adam Reynolds on. Bailey Sirinen on this week. So we've had a lot of players and former players, and just the thought of someone sitting there at home or in their car listening to us tell someone's story is really satisfying. And we've got some fans that given us good feedback that they love the show and they listen to it every week. And
I don't listen to it every week, but I listen to it as much as I can. And I've listened to the Bailey Sirinen episode that came out the other day, and honestly, it's amazing. So for sure, keep up with good work. Sorry, continue.
It's good to hear that, and we do talk about NRL news in the show. So it's not all South Central, but most of it is. And like when we do the interviews, a lot of those are interesting because it's footy related.
Yeah.
So if you're not a South supporter, you can still listen to us talking to Bob McCarthy or, Reno or Liam Knight was good too.
That would have been a good one.
And also Blake Solly. We had CEO Blake Solly on, and he was really good. He's a South supporter who's come along and taken over South as the CEO. So that's like a fairy tale story for him, and he's a tremendous bloke.
Yeah, well,
he's taken over from.
Go ahead, mate.
Oh, he's taken over from Shane Richardson. Yeah. So, and also we've spoken to Jason Demetrio, and his story was fabulous. Like I didn't know it myself, and I'm glad that we told the story on the show and to our listeners, because he's going to be taking over from Wayne Bennett after 2021, and he had this unbelievable career in the Super League, and he was this try-scoring legend over there. And that's doesn't happen very often, because usually if you go to the Super League and you're a star Aussie, you played first grade here or you're well known here. But no, he went over there and made his name.
Yeah.
And he never really came back and played here because he spent most of his career over there. So, but yeah, he's a good bloke, good story, and he's going to be a good coach because all the players really like him and respect him, just like they do Wayne Bennett. So we're thinking that when Wayne does actually hand over to JD, it's going to be a seamless transition because everyone's gotten to know him and they accept him.
No, honestly, that's awesome. Yeah, we've got Charlie Gallico, which, as you know, is Reggie Rabbit, coming onto the podcast in a few weeks' time.
He'll be good. Yeah, we want to get him on too because his story's really good. What he's done for South, and a lot of that's been
Sorry, no, go ahead.
That's right. What he's done for South, a lot of that's been off his own back, and you have to ask him the story about when he's lost his wife, which is devastating for him. But he still went and did the game, and the team formed a guard of honour and clapped him onto the field. Honoured him instead of him leading them out. So that's a really touching moment. But yeah, I went to the grand final with Charlie. It wasn't South one. It was about 10 years. I forget which one. I think it was one of the Melbourne one or something. But yeah, I sat in the stands and watched the grand final with him. He's a good bloke.
Well, I definitely hope so, because we'll be actually going to... it's actually one of my mates who's a devout Rabbitohs fan. He's a member of the Borough. His name's Damo Batty, so big shout out to you, Damo. He's actually writing... Reggie, for lack of a better term, Charlie, his autobiography for him and with him. So he asked me, look, I'd love you to get Charlie on. So if you like, we can do it from his Rabbitohs cave that he's got in his garage, Damo. And, we can all have a sit down and have a chinwag, make a day of it, watch a Rabbitohs game as well. And I'm like, let's go for it,
Unreal. That's good. That sounds good. Yeah. Damo, I know who he is, and I think we need to get him on too on the podcast. Our podcast,
honestly, 100%. Yeah. I'll definitely. I mean, if you don't already know him or have contact with him, I'm happy to help you out with that.
Yeah, no, we've got his contact. We've got a long list of people we want to get on the show, because we don't just want to get the players or the former players. Or celebrities. We like to get some fans on, and we had Jeremy Muir on last week, and he was good. He's a South fan, and he's got this amazing collection of jerseys that he's posting on Facebook. And
oh wow!
We asked him how many jerseys you got, and we thought he was going to say like 20 or 30. He said 120. 120 jerseys in his house. So there must be wall to wall red and green at the newer household. So but he was good. So yeah, and Damo Batty, and there's a couple of others, Jerry Lissing, and that we want to get on to tell their stories.
Yeah, honestly, it's awesome. Like yourself, like I'm trying to start up a fan cave series where I get not just Damo, but one, because obviously the podcast that I do isn't specifically Rabbitohs, it's in general. So I want to get one or two fans per teams, like super fan that have like the biggest cave collection, for lack of a better term. Like one bloke legally changed his middle name to Eagle, and he's a Manly fan. He has the biggest Manly cave in my opinion from what I've seen in general, so I'll be going down to his in Ulladulla when it opens, because he's having renos done to make it even bigger, sort of thing. I've got a Cowboys one coming up, a Sharks fan. Just it's great to have the community involved, and not just the big players or the former players, sort of thing.
Exactly, and we've had a few fans send us some of their collections, and they're awesome, and they're really proud of that, and people love seeing it. People love looking at all these items that they've amassed, and happy for people to tell those stories about that.
Oh, 100%. And speaking of your time, a bit more, word vomit. Speaking a bit more of your time when you were playing, who was the prankster of the club while you were there?
Well, a bloke called David Cruikshank was a funny guy. We both played in that ill-fated 87 semi-final, and he was always a funny guy, and I was always getting in trouble off Mario and Tugger and Michael Andrews, because I was a young guy and they were all older guys, so they seemed to enjoy giving me a hard time, but it was all in fun. And Crookie was a popular guy too. He was a good looking guy, and whenever we went away, they were all trying to talk to David this and David that. So yeah, he's a good man, Crookie.
No, that's fair enough. And also, speaking of when you went on away games, who would you not want to room with while you were like up there? Maybe because they were so loud or boisterous, sort of thing.
Well, I suppose that's a good question, really. Maybe Blockhead Lyons. He's one of my best mates. I couldn't tell you anyone, because we've got such a good camaraderie with your teammates. I would love to room with any of them. I wouldn't put anyone in say I wouldn't want to room with them, because you're just spending time with your mates, and we're all as close as. And sometimes you see them more than your family when you're training and
you
playing.
would.
And there was no one that I can just say, oh, he's had terrible habits, or I didn't like him. So yeah. No, pass on that one.
No, that's totally fair. Honestly, I respect that. When you were playing, who was the toughest opponent, like toughest team that you went up against physically, and who was the toughest team you went up against mentally?
Okay. Well, just coming to mind, I've got a couple.
Yeah, go for
Mal
it.
Meninga was tough, and I remember as a young bloke, I met him at Redfern Oval, and I'd already started playing for South, and I seen him. I said, "Oh, Mal, good to meet you. I can't wait to play against you." And that was the stupidest thing I could have said. So from then on, every time I played against Mal, he went out of his way to hammer me. But he probably did that to everyone anyway. I might have been overstating that. He was that good that he was that big. It was like trying to tackle a runaway train. But
it was pretty much if Jason Tamalolo was a centre.
Yeah, that's right. He's one of the greats. And also Sam Bacco.
Okay.
He was a man mountain, and I always remember trying to tackle him, and I tackled him, and then I was just flat out on my back seeing stars from the big man. So he was a big unit and a real character too, Big Sam. But yeah, so I suppose toughest guys, maybe the Raiders, and I probably had a thing for the Raiders after that, so that was never really good.
Yeah, that's fair.
Toughest man I played alongside, if you're going to ask me that, I always say Ian Roberts.
I was about to ask that.
Ian Roberts. Well, there you go.
What a unit.
Yeah, he's a real weapon, and we had him on the podcast a couple of months ago. He's a real gentleman, and we both lived at Botany, so we carpool to training. And he played for he played for Mascot, and he was just a specimen. He could run like the wind, tackle as hard as anyone, smashing blokes. He would smash blokes when he was running the ball. He would hurt you when he was running the ball.
Yeah,
that's how good he was. And if he was out, which he had a few injuries, we would quite often struggle. When he played, we'd usually win. So he was a big part of the team, and I was just glad that I got to play alongside Big Iron. Yeah.
Honestly, that's amazing. And speaking of, you obviously seeing stars when you would tackle some players, that brings to a new topic of the current NRL, their current rules, such as the HIA and all that, and their new rule changes such as the 6 again. What are your thoughts on the NRL going back to the one referee, the 6 again rule for the ruck infringements, and all that sort of new stuff that's come in over the last year and a bit?
Yeah, well, we've spoken about the CTE rule. That's the
head knock
HIA thing that's come in, and I think it's good because back in the day, you didn't come off if you got knocked out. You play on, and even if you didn't remember or know where you were, it was like a badge of honour to play on, which was not good. And the alarming thing is that players these days, older days, are suffering from dementia, and as a result of maybe a direct result of that, not managing that better.
Mm-hmm.
And it obviously came in from the NFL when that Dr. Bennett, I think it was, the Nigerian, was in that in the movie Concussion, and they've found out that continually hitting the brain damages the brain over time, and it's not good. So yeah, I'm completely on board with that. And when it first came in, the same as in the NFL, they were sort of saying, that's they're going a bit soft, blah blah blah. But no, they're doing it for a reason.
Exactly. Yeah.
People's ongoing health. The other rules, the 6 again, I think that's good. It's quickened up the footy, and that can only be a good thing. Hopefully it helps our Damien Cook, Australian hooker, darting out from dummy half and putting on his brilliant runs.
And they've also just said that they've announced that as of this week coming, they'll be doing 6 again for markers not square.
Yeah, so that's going to be...
That'll be even better for Damien Cook, yeah.
Yeah, you'd think so, and yeah, the one ref, I think it's okay. At first I thought maybe it might be a step back, because I know the refs were saying that the 2 referees are brought in as a part of the CTE, the head injury thing, that there was another set of eyes on the ruck, and it was keeping players safe. But look, it's been a runaway success for the first few weeks. So I think the first round we had all this drop in penalties, and ball was in play for a lot longer. So I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, for sure.
I actually met the Badge, Gavin Badger, when we went to Mudgee for the Charity Shield, and he's a fabulous guy as well. He's another South junior.
Mm-hmm.
Although, and we're going to try and get him on the show, but when they had all this drama, he couldn't really do it because they were in the commission and all that. But,
yep. Well, I mean, I've got Ashley Klein on board, so I'm sure you could manage to get Gavin Badger around now, I'd say.
Yep. Well, he was there too. I think he refereed the Charity Shield, Ashley Klein, and they're all at the pub.
Oh wow!
And we all went back and sat down and had a chat. So he seems like a nice guy too. But yeah, the badge would be good to get on because I'd like to see what his opinion of it is. But I think, as long as all the refs have kept their jobs and the game is flowing better, then I don't see a big problem with it.
Oh, neither do I. Now, talking about a bit of your later life stuff, such as, Rabbitohs Radio, last year you went and played in a game for the NRL Legends. One of our podcast crew members, Steve, played for the Parkwood Sharks when you were, I think it was up on the Gold Coast, the competition. What was it like playing alongside all of the NRL, like some of the NRL Legends from back in the day again?
Yeah, well, it was good. It was fun. It wasn't the one that they've had another one since. I think it was the year before. It was last year, like you said, and it was actually good. Playing for the Botany Rams again with my old mates. It wasn't great for me though. I think I had a little hammy tear in the first game, and then
that's no good.
So I thought I was gone, but I kept hobbling around. Then I tore my calf on the other leg. So it was embarrassing. I'm trying. I get in the clear, and I was like a stumbling old man. Well, I am actually, I suppose. So that's the reality, but. It was enjoyable, and we had our side was quite good. We had Noel Goldthorpe, who was a Botany Ram, and Steve Fennick.
Yep.
And we had Darryl Neville, who also we had a few first graders. So we were sort of the team with the most of the talent. We only lost one game, but it was a lot of fun, and it's quite amazing that comp getting up there. It's a good. I think over 2,000 guys get up there, and it's generally played in good spirit. Like if you don't want to get in there and smash blokes, you just sort of grab them and go easy on in the tackles. But some of the contact's unavoidable. It's still footy. Yeah. And you go away, and most of us come away battered and bruised. But
but you also have beers at the end of the day because you're all mates.
That's it, exactly right. And there's a couple of good turnouts they have, but yeah, it's a good thing. Like there's so many thousands of guys up there because, from what I believe, is teams go up there and they see how good it is, and teams have been going back for 10 and 15 years. And I know the Botany Rams have done that as well. They played again this year, and I couldn't get there for work commitments. But yeah, I'd like to have a run in that again because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And speaking of beer, what is your current beer of choice?
Well, at the moment I'm drinking Stone and Wood. I like a craft beer. Mm-hmm. For years and years I've just drank VB on tap if that's all that's there. But if I go into any establishment now and there's a nice craft beer, a pale ale, a fruity pale ale or something on tap, I'll have a go at that. And Stone and Wood's a nice cloudy fruity pale ale. Okay. They're pretty expensive when you buy the cartons.
They would be.
They're like $78 a carton if it's not on special.
Oh, far out.
So you just try and look for it when they're on special on that. But yeah, bit of a craft beer connoisseur.
No, that's fair. If you could have one superpower, what would it be and why?
Maybe flying. I think flying would be good.
That'd be
all right.
Cool.
Well, maybe it's not really a superpower, but having the ability to print your own cash.
Yeah, honestly, that'd be good. And without it being illegal.
Without it being illegal, make it completely legal superpower. And so flying and have the cash, then you could just give yourself a shitload of money and then fly to Bali on your own.
Oh, honestly, first of all, that is a great idea. And secondly, especially with COVID going on, you definitely should be able to fly by yourself.
Yeah. Well, that's it. You're definitely social distancing in the air, aren't you? So.
Yeah, definitely. What was I going to say? Yeah, no. Yesterday, I think it was Jeremy Lattimore. When I interviewed him the other day, he goes to me. His superpower was being able to see a day ahead into the future. Not too many, not too far, but that way it'll help him when he has a punt.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, looking for, if you won the card at Randwick or something, you'd line up, wouldn't you?
Oh, honestly, you would. And that got me thinking. If you could see the entire future, whether that's of your life or in general, or if you could just see one day into the future, which would you prefer?
Well, maybe just one day. If you could see the day you're going to die, then you could plan around it.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
I hope it's not too soon anyway.
Oh, fingers crossed. Touch wood.
Hope it's when I'm about 90 and then you can make some plans, I suppose, write some nice thank you notes or whatever. Yeah, that'd be nice.
No, that's fair. Yeah, because when he told me about the one day into the future, I was like, That's a good question I should ask. Like if they could see into the future, or if it was just one day into the future, which would they prefer? So figured I'd jot that down.
Yeah, well, I suppose another one that's come to mind when you said it. I've got 2 daughters, and it'd be good to see into the future if I'm going to get a grandchild at some stage.
Yeah,
I'd be pumped for that. Yeah, like a grandson or a granddaughter, I'd be happy either way. But yeah, that'd be another thing that highlight of my life that I'd like to see.
No, that's fair enough. I don't really have many more topics to talk about. That's pretty much it that I've typed up. So, I mean, I'm down to keep...
We're going to talk about... You want to talk about... We'll talk about the current side, if you like.
I was actually about to go, let's keep talking because I'm enjoying it. So let's go with A this week, and they've got the Bulldogs. Who do you think A is going to win? Hopefully the Rabbitohs. And what do you think of the current lineup and the current squad list in general?
Okay, so... We've lost some of the greats of the game. Sam Burgess, John Sutton, George Burgess. So we are going through a little bit of a restructure, but the team's coming together quite nicely. We've got some great young forwards coming through. I mentioned Bailey Sirenen before, and Liam Knight's coming on, and Jaden Sewer, he's come along in leaps and bounds. We've got Cameron Murray, Damien Cook. So we've got some decent forwards. And our back line, well... a pretty awesome back line if they can put it together.
Well, yeah, you've got Gay Guy, Roberts, you've got Campbell Graham, Latrell Mitchell.
Cody Walker at 5'8".
Yep.
Adam Reynolds' kicking game is on point.
2014 grand finalist Alex Johnston.
Yes, exactly. So we've got the side there. The last couple of weeks we were going well. We had a couple of wins, and then we hit a bit of a roadblock against Penrith last week. We dropped too much ball, couldn't complete our sets, and Penrith were putting up a lot of balls. Cleary was peppering us with these high balls, and we put a few down. So look, that was a day to forget. But
a bit of a highlight from last week was Bailey Sirenen got his first NRL try.
Yes, that was good. Now, when we get people on the podcast, one of our standard questions is, tell us about your debut and tell us about your first try.
Yep.
And when we asked Bailey that question, he said, "Oh, well, I'm glad I've scored. I've got one to tell you." And, and I said, "Yeah, well, that is," and it was a good one. It was fresh in all our minds. Renault went across and turned him back inside for a nice ball, and he ran a good line.
He did.
So he looked good. He looked good when he came on. He looked keen, and he was everywhere, running the ball and tackling. So he was one of the shining lights on a bit of a bad day. So. Yeah, looking to the Canterbury game, they've only won one game. They're in all sorts. So we're hoping that we can play ourselves back into a bit of form against them. If we do what I said, hold the ball, complete sets. That's all we really need to do.
Yeah.
And the side will take care of itself because we've got the talent to play a lot of footy. With Jimmy the Jet starts getting a bit more ball and.
Yeah, because he's back in the starting. He's back in the starting lineup now, not just off the bench.
That's right, and Campbell Graham he's maturing all the time. He's a fabulous player. So we can get the simple things right. We should beat the Dogs. If we play like we did against Penrith, who knows? But I think that this week Bennett will be back in their ears, telling them to get the simple things right, and I think we can come out with a win on Sunday against the Dogs, and then we've got a short turnaround into Friday night against Balmain, the West Tigers.
West Tigers, yeah.
And that'll be a tough matchup too in a 5-day turnaround because they played it right last week as well.
The Tigers are starting to pick up a bit of form again, so fingers crossed it goes the way of the Rabbitohs this weekend. I mean, I've tipped the Rabbitohs because, like you said, the Bulldogs aren't necessarily in the best of form, having only won one game all season, regardless of the COVID restart. The Rabbitohs have been in and out of form, but they've definitely been in a lot more form than the Bulldogs this season. So, honestly, anyone who's listening, I'm not meaning to offend you, but you'd be stupid not to tip the Rabbitohs for that game.
Yeah. The Dogs have got, the name escapes me, the forward they brought out from England.
Luke Thompson. I think it's Luke Thompson.
Luke Thompson.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's been named on an extended bench, and he could be a guy that they'll be frothing to get him in the side, and I don't know if they're going to do it this week.
I doubt it this week, yeah.
yeah. So, but it'd be tempting if he's fit and he's ready to go to get him out there, and if he does play against South, then they'll just have to handle him.
Yeah, well, who do you reckon would be tasked with the job? Because Luke plays lock. Do you reckon Wayne Bennett would, as in not this week obviously, because Luke isn't listed as on the starting lineup, but do you reckon Cameron Murray would be up for the job against Luke Thompson?
Well, I think Cameron Murray's up for the job against anyone. So yeah, he's a great defender and he's everywhere. He's got a big future, Cameron Murray. I think he's maybe a future captain of the Blues and maybe the Kangaroos.
Yeah, I could see that.
He's got all the ability in the world. He's play the ball speed, as you know, is phenomenal.
It really is.
He'll tackle anything that moves. He's got good ball skills. He can run too. He can score a try. So sort of the complete package for us. He's our superstar. We love him. My co-host Darren Brown, he loves him like a brother because he's a former mascot junior and.
Yep.
But yeah, there's a lot to love about Cameron Murray, and we're not ashamed to say that.
One thing I'm really, really glad about for the team is I personally love Ethan Lowe and his playing style. He's such an underrated player in my opinion. Seeing him get a starting lineup number, like the last 2, I think, or 3 weeks, he's been like not coming off the bench. It's only been a matter of time. I'm a big advocate for Ethan Lowe as a player. What are your thoughts on Ethan Lowe as a player?
Yeah, he's been good for us. He brings a lot of experience. So that's what we need. He can run the ball and he's a good defender. So yeah, he's been really good for us. And it's just that we just need to keep winning consistently, and we just haven't been doing that this year. So yeah, he's a good player.
Agreed. So that about wraps up our episode interview chat with Steve Mavin, of a former Rabbitohs legend and current co-host of the Rabbitohs Radio podcast. Thank you for joining us, and give us a plug for your Rabbitohs Radio. Go, mate.
Well, thanks, mate. You're a bit kind saying legend. I don't really qualify for that. I'm just happy that I played first grade for the Bunnies, and yeah, we make our podcast, Rabbitohs Radio Podcast. It's a weekly podcast during the year. We've had some great guests on. We love doing the show. We talk about the results and we talk about some NRL news and we have a laugh along the way. So if you haven't had a listen, jump onto our website, rabbitohsradio.com.au. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and YouTube, or you can download us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast apps.
Well, I'll be
wherever you get your podcast.
Yeah, I'll be putting all of the links to the things that he's just mentioned in the description of this episode. So if you guys, don't want to have to type it all out, the links will just be conveniently placed in the description for you.
Oh, well, thank you for that, and we'll give your podcast a mention on our show next week as well.